How close should my grow lights be is something that we get asked quite often. Now this might be a little bit nerdy and sciencey up front, but stick with it because it's going to make a lot of things make a lot more sense. When you're growing plants with grow lights, there's basically three variables you can control. One is the strength of the light, and you'll notice that I didn't say the word brightness. There was a trend for a while where people were going out and buying photographers' light meters and using that to measure the strength of their grow lights. And the problem is that those use a measurement called foot candles. And that means nothing to your plant. See, your plant cares about something called ppfd, and you'll see that represented as something called a micromole. I don't mean a small underground creature. It's different. You don't need to go too far down that rabbit hole, but basically you just need to understand that you see light differently than your plant does. The second variable, of course, is time, and we're not going to spend too long talking about this one because I think you all understand it. If you go outside on a sunny day, the longer that you spend time outside, the more likely you are to get burned. It's the same way with plants. Now, before we can talk about distance, we need to at least acknowledge something that is called the inverse square law. What that law states is that if you double the distance between an object and a light source, you are giving it 1/4 of the intensity of light. Let's say that you had your grow light exactly 1 foot above your plant, and we'll call this 100% power. If you double that distance to 2 feet, now you're only giving your plant 25% of that intensity. If you double it again, now we are only at 6.25% of that initial 100% power. Now there's been some interesting videos that have come out over the years of people testing this and coming up with slightly different results, and so some controversy has been born. The law is the law in terms of the inverse square law. However, there are probably other environmental factors, whether that is light construction or other things going on, that could skew the numbers. Whether it's 100% accurate or not, it still gives you a framework to understand why putting a grow light on your ceiling and then aiming it at a plant on your floor isn't really giving it that much light. With all the sciencey stuff out of the way, how do you actually determine how close your grow light should be to your plant? Well, you're just going to do a little bit of trial and error. Let's say that you had a 40-watt grow bulb and you wanted to start at 3 feet away from your plant. Run that grow light for about 12 hours. Then you're going to look for any signs of burning or any distress to the plant. If you see scorch marks or the leaves are starting to hide themselves, then you might need to actually move the grow light a little bit further away from your plants for now. But if you're not seeing any negative signs, then you've got a couple of options. You can either start to increase the length of time that the grow light is on, or you can start to close the distance between your grow light and the plant. But before you move that grow light, I hope you remember all of that nerdy stuff that I said before about the inverse square law. Because if you go from 3 feet to 1.5 feet, you just quadrupled the power of the light. The inverse square law works in reverse as well.